Plexcelsior, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Crisis on Earth Plex. This is Multiplex Entertainment's weekly Arrowverse and Inner Geekdom stuff discussion show. I'm one of the hosts for the evening, the Cosmic Night Fury, Nico, Suave, Regoli. And as always, I'm joined by one of my best friends in this entire community, my brother in the house, the Arrowverse champion, Zaddeus Z-Man Smith. How are you today, my brother?
Doing good, sir. Doing good. How about yourself, man? How about yourself?
I'm doing good. I just realized that I have a Z-Man shirt upstairs. It's clean. I wish I would have worn it for this stream to make you feel good about yourself.
That makes me feel good right there, just hearing that you got one of the shirts. But wait, Nico, quick question. Where did you buy that shirt at, if I may ask so myself?
That would be on Multiplex's TeePublic account, where the name of that is just Multiplex. So go buy our awesome shirts over there on TeePublic Multiplex.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. I will definitely go check that out rather our broadcast tonight.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And speaking of our broadcast tonight, we have a lot of awesome stuff Arrowverse related to talk about tonight.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much so that if we didn't have this list and we didn't have a schedule of when all these shows air, I wouldn't know what order to do them in. But thankfully I do, because Supergirl was on Sunday, and my God, did everything I said about Jon Cryer as Lex Luthor. Man, how accurate was I?
Yeah, well, yeah, you were, man, because Jon Cryer, more or less, he did the damn thing on this episode. He killed it. Now, best Luthor ever? Per se, not for me, but he's a damn good one in my eyes.
See, I'm only familiar with a few Luthors, and aside from animated, live action, I'm familiar with even fewer. Like as far as I can tell, I know of Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor. I now know of Jon Cryer's Lex Luthor. Oh yeah, what's his name on Smallville? Is that Michael Rosenbaum?
Yeah, that's Michael Rosenbaum. Yes, sir. The great Michael Rosenbaum.
Okay, so I guess the way I could say it is, in the long-term game, Michael Rosenbaum has obviously stolen the show there. But in the short time that we've seen him, I feel like Jon Cryer is a candidate to steal our hearts as the new Lex Luthor. It's just a matter of time. Let's see how things play out as we get more of him. But let's get to the start of our exposure to Jon Cryer's Lex Luthor. So basically, if you saw this Sunday's Supergirl, you understand that Lex Luthor, as he usually does, he tried to kill Superman. He had a big plan in mind. He tried to turn the Earth's sun red just so Superman wouldn't be powerful. He goes to jail. Several years later, as he usually does, we find out he injected himself with like some sort of kryptonite serum to give himself powers. And a few years later, it gives him cancer. He's dying. He comes to Lena Luthor for help, his sister, because he knows, because she's been talking to him, he knows of the serum she's working on to help cure ailments with the Haranel. And so he's in his head thinking, I can work with this. So he helps her perfect the cure, which is perfect timing to have the cure, because James Olsen, as we saw last week, got shot. Bleeding on the floor, needs like a very invasive surgery just to fix the internal bleeding, get all the shrapnel out. He's in bad shape. And so basically, in terms of the Luthor story arc, they spend a good portion of the episode just trying to figure out how can we get this cure perfect, and then we're going to test it on James, provided his sister wishes. Because, by the way, has James Olsen, in the other shows he's been portrayed, does he have a sister?
I've never seen. I remember. I think Justin. I can't remember his name. I remember from like the old Adventures of Lois and Clark with Dean Cain. I don't think he had a sister or brother, even though I do know on Smallville he had a brother, which they really kind of screwed the pooch there. Like that's one negative thing I would say about Smallville. They had Jimmy had a brother later after he supposedly went away. I won't say why, but he had a brother that came in and took his spot at the Daily Planet. So I think this is the only time I've seen James, other than that, have a sister.
Ah,
But then
but
this is the only time James been black too. So hey, new James.
fair point. Fair point. I like that James' sister, whose name I'm unfortunately forgetting, both character-wise and actress-wise.
Yeah, it was
But
Kelly Olsen. At least that was the character's name.
But I like that she has that connection already to the Kent/L family. Like she's familiar with Superman/Clark Kent. She's familiar with Kara. Now, does she know Kara has powers? Hard to say.
I didn't think she did, judging from how she was wondering like where Kara was and why she wasn't at the hospital. I would think she would know that Supergirl was out there like trying to help the hospital, like stop what was going on in the city and stuff. So I think that's still a secret to her and Alice alike.
Okay. So there's that going on, dealing with the matter of consent, because like Lena wants to give the cure, but Kelly's like, I don't trust you, Luthors. I've seen you've tried to break this planet several times before, so why should I let you use this cure? I'm going with the surgery. And meanwhile, because while this is all going on, Jon is struggling because Manchester Black is going crazy. He's going nuts. Like, he's gone full-on extremist terrorist to get his point across to Jon, to try and make him into the monster that he believes is inside of him, much like the monster that has been unleashed since Fiona died with Manchester, his own internal monster. So that's going on. And also, because of the fact that several episodes ago, Alex's memory was wiped, Kara not being able to, with Alex not knowing that Kara is Supergirl, she needs to find a good excuse, which she does not have, as to why she can't be in the hospital. Yeah. Like, helping Jon isn't going to cut it when your best friend is dying on a hospital bed. By the way, hi, Jonathan Peck. Hi, Jonathan Peck. He's watching. Yep. So that's all going on, and Zadd, you fill in the blanks from there.
Yeah, it's definitely not going to work, especially when your sister only thinks of you as a reporter. I mean, as she said, what is the reporter going to do to help Jon out? Are you going to interview Manchester Black? Which is a pretty good line. Like, she raises a good point, Kara. But yeah, this whole memory wipe is not. It was a very good short-term solution, but in the long run, I said it before, I say again, I think this is really going to hurt Alice and Kara's relationship. But in regards to that, Manchester is shutting down like the power of the whole city, which was he's attacking the reservoir. Or the reservoir / dam of the city, and he's about to knock out the power to the whole city, which was interesting because it also caused, quote unquote, at least what people believe, it caused the hospital power to begin to flicker. And also, one thing that Jon had believed since the beginning, he thought it was Manchester who shot James, which in this case, he was way off. Because, I'm pretty sure it was almost common sense, common nature to both me and you, to anybody who knows the kind of heinous figure that Lex Luthor is. Lex eventually admits, oh, it was me that shot James, and it was me that was causing the blackout at the hospital. Now, Manchester was still affecting the city, but Lex was affecting the power grid at the hospital, which Lena was intelligently able to figure out. And it was all because he needed to give Lena a reason to get the cure done, to get the Harinel serum regulated, complete, because they did have to end up using it on James. And as of right now, it's been healed James, and there's been no adverse side effects. Even though part of me would not be surprised if James came back next week or 2 weeks from now with like some type of weird superpowers, or like. But I saw it coming. But she said,
"Thank you."
But that was not surprising to me at all. However, I think the biggest twist of this episode was Lena tried to play all big and tough by saying that she wasn't that. Now that she knew that Lex was the one that shot James only because he could get the cure, she said, "I'm not going to get you the cure," only to find out that Lex had already taken the cure while she had been away trying to help James with the cure. And this is where I guess the cover was blown. Well, the grand mystique of it all was that Lex has had somebody working for Lena this whole time. Actually, she's been working for James this whole time too. Hell, she's been working for Kat before then. If you catch my hits, it was Eve Tessmacher, which was not that big of a surprise to me because when I heard Tessmacher, I thought about Tess Mercer from back in the day, Smallville days, but it caught Lena by surprise. And
it caught me off guard too.
I was like, I knew it. I knew she couldn't be trusted. And then plus, Otis Graves was still alive from earlier this season with Mercy and Otis, who were trying to kill the Roaches on the show. But it was a nice little twist right there for Eve to be revealed working for Lex, and it just shows how strong his reach is, even when he was in prison.
So the dumber of the Graves siblings, I feel like he has a very punchable face, and I agree. He is the perfect actor to play such a douchey character, in my opinion. Not saying like this guy's an actual douche in real life. I'm certain that maybe if I got to know him, he'd actually be a very down to earth guy. But granted, I only have this actual character to go off of with this actor, and so far I want to punch this character, so I'm just saying that. Tessmacher, she played the long game for that heel turn, and I think that's why it was so effective for me. Granted, I didn't bother to do any research on this character for the 4 seasons this show has been on the air, so that's probably why it came as such a shock to me that when she did pull that heel turn. But Lex Luthor made his escape at the end of the episode, and he did so as he conducted a symphony of destruction as the entire lawn blew up, and the guards just went, there's a body part over there, there's a body part over there. Like, he was relentless. Then he flies out into a helicopter, and he finally meets Supergirl.
Oh, his escape was beautiful, though. How he masterfully handled everything. He walked out, guards were waiting for him, but he just clicked his watch and like just a symphony, like boom, 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 boom. Everybody got shot in front of him. Then, like you said, the lawn blew up because he saw more guards coming. He's just acting fantastical. I thought it was great.
Yeah. One more thing before we move on to Arrow is where the hell is this relationship between Brainy and Nia going?
Man, I'm telling you, I really think that Brainy has a relationship with somebody in Nia's future. I mean, I doubt Nia can be alive even in the future, but I believe there's some reason why he won't go all the way with Nia in this future. Hell, she even took the first step in a massive way by planting a big one on Brainy this week. So you know how she feels, but Brainy even went as far as to quote Keanu Reeves, like, I hear relationships formed in strenuous situations never last. I think I got that quote right. Jeremy, please let me know if I did or not. It's from the movie Speed, of course, but yeah, I really think that's what was the problem with Brainy. I think he's betrothed, has been involved with some member of Nia's family in the future.
I'm wondering if part of me keeps thinking like these two are gonna hook up, and then Brainy's gonna be responsible for the birth of the person he eventually falls in love with in the future.
Wouldn't that be weird? That'd be super weird.
It wouldn't surprise me. Well, actually, it would, because I think like Berlanti and Kreisberg, they might have better taste than that. Yeah. They don't want to go Game of Thrones with that sort of thing. But if they did, it would be insane, and it would just that would be crazier in terms of a time paradox than anything Nora has done so far to the timeline.
That's true. Yes, it would be. Yeah. And one more thing before we move over to Arrow, just to round out the John Jones element of this episode. It appeared that he killed Manchester in this episode. And I use that big quotes on that because all we see is John use the staff of, I think it's called Horemir. It's the staff of Horemir, and
I think so. Yeah.
And then he dissolves Manchester into. First of all, he goes on full Manhunter mode, like rages out, and he uses the staff against Manchester. And I think his last words to Jon in his Manhunter form was, "You're beautiful," and it just shows how far, even though he's quote unquote dead, I think in a way Manchester has won by getting Jon to rage out like that. And I'm really interested in seeing if he's really dead or not.
You know how in Superior Spider-Man, where Doc Ock was on his deathbed and then he somehow transfers his consciousness into the body of Peter Parker?
Mm-hmm.
You just made me wonder, like, what if when Manchester Black died, maybe his consciousness was transferred into the staff, and then maybe the mind link is still there, and maybe now that maybe Manchester can somehow take over Jon's consciousness? I don't know.
That would be interesting.
Why am I coming up with such insane theories tonight?
Trust me, it's the CW Arrowverse. Nothing is truly insane when it comes to this.
True. And finally, just because in case we don't forget, Brady got his ring back. Yay!
That's true, he did. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so with that said, we can now move on to Arrow. And this particular episode, we'll call it let's say that those rumors about a potential Blackstar spinoff were true. You can consider this episode then to be the backdoor pilot. Because we get a look at Star City / the Glades in the year 2040 through the entirety of, well, not the entirety, but through about 9/10 of the episode. The first 10th was spent with Mia's birth and then training with Auntie Nissa Al Ghul.
I love that. I love that so much. I'm like, okay, I see you, Nissa, coming back in the major way. There we go. Training little Mia. I think she trained her from basically a 8-year-old or 5-year-old kid to pretty much adulthood. That's great. Yeah, I would love to see that.
Oh, I'm back. Sorry.
Oh, okay. No problem.
So just a quick question before we move on to like what actually happened in the episode. So we've seen that Nissa is alive. We've seen since the beginning of this season that Roy is alive. What the hell happened to Thea?
Yeah, that's a good point. You know what D has always been doing? Well, the good answer is to say that Willa Holland doesn't want to come back to Arrow. But Thea Queen herself, maybe she's just living her best life, like in the Arrowverse, somewhere far away from Roy, Oliver, her new sister. Actually, no, Emiko's not her sister. Ooh, sorry, that just clicked to me. But
so that Queen family gets around a lot. Like there's so many illegitimate children in so many different places. Like Oliver's got a half sister, Thea's got a half brother.
Two half brothers, yeah.
Like Oliver had a son with some other lady from 10 years ago that the mom paid hush. By the way, Moira Queen loves to pay hush money.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
She's rich, so she can just pay people up and get away with it. That's how it worked in her mind, at least.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so to avoid going on a tangent, basically, because we're kind of discussing more of like what didn't happen in these shows and just giving theories, which is fun. But we're a recap show as well, so we got to discuss what happened in the episode, which is that we watched Blackstar grow up, Mia grow up, and she's been led to believe one thing her entire life, or at least that's how her mom tried to shape things. Her mom tried to control the narrative of how her father was received in the public, but she had heard a bunch of things about vigilantes from secondhand sources. Now, granted, I don't know where I can't remember where those secondhand sources came from because she was never apparently allowed to leave the house. But she finds her mom's secret lair in the house behind the pantry. And she sees the Archer program computer. I believe that's what it was. And she realizes what her mom's been up to. She's been like, you you've been vigilanteing for so long, and yet you've kept me cooped up here for all this time, not letting me do anything with the training you've had Auntie Nissa give me for all these years. So obviously she feels a little pissed, and she runs away from home. And she joins an underground fight league. And then she becomes mixed up with her half-brother that she never knew she had. And now we get to this point in the episode where they're trying to get over the wall to the glades so they can find
Felicity and like where the bombs are.
Yes. I don't know why I blanked on Felicity's name for a second. It's been a long day. But yeah, they're trying to find Felicity and figure out where the bombs are. And so they're like, let's try the corporate approach. Let's just walk right in and hide in plain sight. And it almost works, but Mia don't have security clearance.
Yeah, that was very weird. And well, not weird, but it was just weird that they thought that would work, that approach would work in my eyes. I mean, William, I was surprised that he was able to get through the security checkpoint, but
well, apparently he has an actual business.
Oh, well, that's a good point. Yeah, that's right, because she did mention later in the episode that Felicity has been funding William's business all along.
So yeah, but we then find out that Connor Hawk, he's apparently a secret agent, and he uses his cover to help Mia maintain her cover. And then Mia's like, "You've been lying to me too? Come on!"
And, you know, just a quick pause. Mia overreacts so much in this episode. My God. Like Mom's like, "You've been lying to me my whole life. I'm gonna run away. I need to take my own walkabout." Like, seriously, little girl, you're gonna do this now? And I'm saying little girl because she can't be more than 20, 21. Hell, I'm older than her. I can say that. So I'm like, come on, that's
I might be older than her.
Yeah,
I might be older than her.
I think you are older than her. So she just overreacts. Then she overreacts. Like, have you been lying to me this whole time? Was any of it real? I'm like, oh, please don't bring this relationship drama back in this. I'm watching Arrow. I'm not watching Black Lightning. This is not Jenna Khalil. Do not do this to me. No. So that kind of irked me a little bit, but it got back into the program of they got back into the mindset of why they're there and what they need to do. They got back on mission, more or less.
Yeah. So they work out a plan. They get the information they need, and they find Felicity cooped up in a cell. And you know, it was weird seeing that it was glass instead of like bars, because without that context, it's just like she could probably have just walked out. But then you realize, oh, it's a glass thing, so she can't walk out.
Yeah.
Also, and this is just weird of me to bring up, but why was Felicity wearing combat boots and whatnot? Like, what was she doing when she got captured?
Well, that's a good question. Even though I think it goes along the line, it plays into the fact that she's now Felicity in 2040 is not the Overwatch that we know her as now. She goes by, and even everybody in Star City and the Glades knows her as the Vigilante, the Calculator, which means she's pretty much adopted her dad's alter ego in the future, which I thought was a pretty cool little turn of events right there.
Yep, even we see it a lot in the comics where the Bat family would take on the mantle of the Batman, but apparently it works with villains too, because like there have been two tricksters on the Flash, and now we have a lineage with the Calculator, which is cool. But so they free Felicity, have that heart-to-heart that wasn't totally a heart-to-heart moment that
at least between William and Felicity it was. Me and Felicity, nah.
Yeah, they have some mommy daughter issues to work out, which they eventually do. A little bit too quickly for my taste, but it's a TV show. It's going to do that sometimes, but we'll get to that in a moment. So the entire band is back together now, and even Renee with the terrible hairpiece, he's like, okay, this big time company that I tried to defend earlier, yeah, they lied to me. I'm a dumbass. So I need your help finding the bombs. So Star City doesn't get blown to smithereens with a bunch of people in it. And they do that. They hide in plain sight again, wearing masks at a masquerade party where there are going to be fireworks. And they have this technology where you touch the person and then you figure out who they are, which is interesting.
Very interesting. I really hope there is nothing like that ever gets created in the real world. Period. I don't want people to know who I am and know everything about me by saying, "Hey, good job, guy." I'm like, what the fuck? No.
Oh no, he has my credit card information now. Like
exactly.
Like William already got his wallet stolen. Well, he got the tape recorder stolen in last week's episode just by getting bumped. Like, imagine if that girl had the technology to like learn everything about him like that. He'd be screwed. Every single one of his financial assets would be hidden somewhere now, and he'd be locked out.
Yeah, he's not the smartest when it comes to keeping yourself protected, making sure that he's not the smartest when it comes to not getting hustled.
Yep. But that's what we discussed last week. This week, they have this very convenient technology for the sake of plot devices. They find the guy who they were looking for. It's the guy who was flirting with William earlier in the episode as they were exchanging information. And Mia takes down all of his guards, but not him. But they do take out the bombs. And now Arsenal, Black Canary, and Calculator, they're all wanted by the authorities. There's a gigantic bounty on their head of I think $1 million.
Oh, I think it was a little bit higher, like
5 million.
I think it was 10. Okay, maybe so, but yeah, they have a hefty price on their head now.
Yep. But Renee is playing his part now. He's their man on the inside. Although I think it's safe to say that the guy who they encountered in this episode, the bad guy of this episode, he kind of knows that Renee is the guy on the inside, and he's just trying to see how can I pull this puppet string some more. And as that's going on, the rest of Team Arrow 2040, they're about ready to go get a drink. Mia is still whining, and secluding herself from the rest of the group a little bit because she's still not totally comfortable with this vigilante life. And her mom, they finally have that heart-to-heart. And again, I feel like Mia was way too forgiving after holding all this resentment in for so long. It just seems so weird that one conversation changed her entire perspective.
Yeah, that it was a little quick to say that you've been feeling this way for at least a couple years, and you've been feeling this way again towards your mother for a while. And even in this timeline as is right now, vigilantes have been hyped up as being the bad guys in the city, and they're the reason why Star City and the Glades is the way it is right now. So she kind of forgave her a little bit too quickly. Yes, I do agree with that. Even though I do believe she overreacted earlier, she did. It was really just all for comfort, I guess. Just because it's TV in this aspect, they just let her forgive Felicity in this episode.
Yeah, and they end the episode on an interesting note in which Felicity kind of implies that she had something to do with Oliver's death.
Well, I don't think that was it. I think it was the fact that she's the one that created Archer, right? Which is basically the program that has it's the program that is allowing. I believe the guy's name is Kevin Devlin, which is a horrible bad guy name. Devlin, okay.
It's a douchey bad guy name.
It's very douchey. Yeah, Kevin Devlin.
By the way, that sounds a lot like Kevin Levin from Ben 10.
Hey, I wouldn't be surprised if that's where they got the name from. Come on, this is not a good name. By the way, this guy and William kind of had a connection also earlier in the episode. But yeah, I believe this it was basically implied that Felicity created the Archer program, and I believe Archer is going to go off Skynet in the future. Well, maybe not technically Skynet, because I just believe it's gonna fall into the wrong hands eventually, and it's gonna be used to like basically hunt down vigilantes or something. Because there was something, there was one moment when him and Renee were talking like in front of this huge helmet, like this will help us take down all the vigilantes around here. And finally, at last, I'm like, okay. And then it cuts to that scene that you're talking about where Felicity is back in 2019, working on Archer, and when she has Archer greet her in the present day.
By the way, isn't it kind of disappointing that when she finally got Archer to work, it wasn't the voice of H. John Benjamin who plays the Archer cartoon?
That would have been funny. That would have been very hilarious. Hell, that could have been looped in a couple more universes right there. But I feel like the multiverse is already strange. Arrowverse multiverse is already convoluted as it is, because I have a major question to ask at the end of after we get done talking about the Arrowverse show. So I just thought about it. Just remind me about that later.
Yeah. So all in all, I think this was a good episode. It was a good way to get us hyped for a show that we don't know if it's officially coming, but if it is, then yay! Blackstar. I think this is where she finally found her footing as a character. The actress found her footing with this character, and like we know Arrow is ending when we get around the time of the crisis, winter time. So if they were to keep the show going through Blackstar, keep the cast working through Blackstar, this was a great way to get us hyped for Star City 2040. And so unless there are any other thoughts, we can move on to Black Lightning's finale.
Yeah, just one more thought. I'd like to tell everybody that don't forget on April 4th, new CW series In the Dark premieres at, I believe, 7, 8 Central, or either 8, 9, 9, 8 Central. Okay, Black Lightning.
Oh God. Yeah, and maybe watch that show so CW will get a bigger budget for hair pieces in the future.
Right? Oh my God, we won't talk about Renee this episode, but
listen, when the season finales of all the big three shows happens, and we're left with what do we talk about now? We're going to dedicate an entire episode to the bad hair pieces of this season of Arrow.
Hey, I'm cool with it. I'm down with it. Bad hair pieces, and bad makeup. Now, Felicity did look good in this episode, but you know what? That we'll talk about that in that future episode of ours.
Yeah. So, with that said, let's get to some actual good stuff. Black Lightning, my God, what a fantastic season finale. What was it, like book 2, chapter 17,000?
Okay, Simon Miller.
those long ass titles. It was
the book of Apocalypse, chapter 2, the Omega, and I guess that makes sense because last week's was the Alpha, and this is the Omega. So, makes sense.
But sadly, no Chris Jericho or Kenny Omega. But that's a wrestling joke. But all in all, this episode was so good, and it hit you with so many things. Like, especially with they brought back 2 characters who I did not think they were going to bring back, and like that's the beauty. That's the beauty of this show, is that it's learning from the mistakes of the comic book companies, and that if you're going to do something like this, don't tease it so damn heavily. And just let people be surprised by it, because if they're surprised by it, then they won't have time to complain about the fact that they didn't actually die. But we're getting a little too far ahead. I'm going to let you take care of the breakdown for this one.
Oh yeah, this was, like you said, this was a great show because there were a couple different storylines. We'll start with how we left last week with Jen's old dumbass taking the suit out that wasn't ready, and basically she was about to overload, but fortunately for her, Gamby was able to come, I believe, with his special electro-absorbing gloves. That's what I'm calling them now, at least. And he was able to take, basically help her power down. However, that did cause like some sick-ass radiation burns on him, but fortunately, he was okay. But basically, Tobias launched his attack also this week because he finally. It was kind of weird. What was his motivation to finally take down Black Lightning in this episode? Because I mean, especially since it was Lala that kind of derailed things for him last week. But that's neither here nor there. But he finally went again on the offensive against Black Lightning. He had his 4 Masters of Disasters go attack the power plant, basically because he knew that's how. Well, somehow he figured out that's how Black Lightning gets his power. He absorbs electricity from the town. If you cut down the town, if you cut down out the power from the town, no power for Black Lightning. And he was very smart. Again, I love a smart calculating villain because he didn't just go out and do this just all willy-nilly. He used the riots that were starting in Freeland, which was very cool how they wove in what happened last week. Because personally, I thought that the death of Kate Guy, which was a superhero that was out of control with his powers from last week, was just going to kind of go by unscathed. But they brought that back in a major way in this episode because the police officer that shot Kate Guy was not charged with anything. So basically, Freeland got the people of Freeland got pissed off and it started a riot. So Tobias used all that madness to disguise his true intentions, which was to take out Black Lightning. And this kind of led to it was an okay confrontation with Black Lightning and Thunder versus Cold Snap. No, wait, no, not Cold. Yeah, Cold Snap.
Yeah,
Heat Stroke. Stupid name. New Wave and wannabe Quake guy. Wannabe Quake got knocked out pretty early, but he was able to come back, and Heat Stroke got killed. Fortunately for Black Lightning and Thunder, because they were actually winning, but Lala came in and pretty much helped Black Lightning by shooting Heat Stroke and killed them. So that allowed Black Lightning Black Lightning and Thunder to kind of get the upper hand. And also, I will say shout out to Jen and Gamby because they were able to get the power back on for Freeland, which allowed Jefferson to supercharge his powers again and basically wipe out everybody else. However, after Lala helped him, he just went back. He just went after Tobias himself again. He helped Black Lightning, and then he went out. He went after Tobias, and he got his ass in a bad situation because Lala, if you remember from earlier this season, Tobias has these like code words that he can. What is it? The devil deals in. He says he has a phrase that he says to Lala that is supposed to make Lala lock up, and he's supposed to be able to control him. However, his
first phrase stopped working, so he went for code red, which in this case was E pluribus unum.
That's right. And it basically allowed all the tattoos. Well, it made Lala get a tattoo for every person he's killed or basically had a hand in killing, start forming on his body. And that's pretty much where we left him until I gave her praise just a couple minutes ago because Jen was able to help Gamby turn on the power to the sea, which basically helped her dad. However, she basically rushed in headstrong and went against Tobias, trying to kill him. She really broke into this man's home and just started electrocuting him with her lightning powers. And maybe it's because she's a teenager or something. I'll give her that, but she's just a little bit too headstrong to be a superhero right now. But thankfully,
she was winning. She was winning before her dad showed up.
Oh, she was definitely winning, but she was about to cross that line. She was about to basically kill him if not for Jefferson showing up. And basically, I believe he was absorbing her powers a little bit. Or like he was conducting some of the electricity from her into himself, which is basically depowering Jen a little bit, or lightning in this case. And basically, they were able to take out Tobias as a father and daughter duo, even though personally, again, I don't understand how Tobias, a smart guy as he is, does not realize, that's Jefferson Pierce. Okay, maybe it's not Jefferson Pierce. But wait, Jefferson Pierce has a daughter.
I think he's too pissed off to really put that thought into his mind of like, okay, the Pierce family is electrocuting me right now. I think he's just focused on the fact that there are two costumed people with lightning coming from their hands, throwing him up in the air and slamming him down on the ground like the Hulk with Loki.
That's true. And you know my whole stance against the whole mask and everything, but they are able to take down Tobias well. And he basically gets thrown into a prison called the Raft. I'm sorry, not the Raft. That's MCU. Called the Pit, and it's like run by a black site operation. I don't think they said it wasn't run by the ASA, was it? Or
I don't know, but that thing is heavily fortified. So, like, I don't know how he's gonna get out, but he might not get out for a while. I guess they're trying to just keep him on the shelf while they move on to the Markovian war that's coming. But before we get to that, there's an emotional moment with Jefferson Pierce, and I can't really say that my family has had maybe that level of that conversation before, but I'm assuming that you, as a black man, have probably had those. Someone in your family has had those feelings expressed before in their lifetime several times.
Yeah, like the end conversation, how at the end of the show you're talking about, of how he was just worried so much. How basically he worries every time that they go out with his family, both Lin, Jen, and Anissa go out. He has to worry about them every day, not only because they're superheroes, but because they're also black people in Freeland, and also he knows the what's the word I'm looking for? The temperature. He knows how the community is right now.
The climate.
Thank you. The climate of Freeland right now, and he has to work. He was crying tears of joy in this instance because it was such a nice moment of how his whole family was together, and even though he didn't say it, I'm pretty sure he was relieved that Tobias was finally locked up in this case. But that tender moment kind of went out the window as Agent Odell walked in superb fashion, man. I say he's like, hey, just walked into the house. He's like, hey, yo, just to let you know, I know who every one of you are. First of all, I was like, yeah, you're, and I've officially deputized you as basically members of the ASA, Black Lightning, Thunder, and whatever your cute little name is over here, wherever you're going by. But he pretty much gives them the warning, and this is where I'm like, wondering who's about to come to dinner, because he warns them that because of all the green light babies now in Freeland, it's kind of put a target on Freeland's back, because the only other community that was dealing in green light experiments and metahuman experiments was, like you said earlier, was from the island of Markovia. Well, I'm not sure if it's the island in this case, but from the kingdom of Markovia. So there's about to be a war coming to Freeland, Markovian War, which I'm not sure if he said that, but that's how
he did.
Markovian War is about to come to Freeland, and it looks like season 3 is about to be a great season too. And I feel like that's why they also put Tobias on the shelf for now, because they could always come back to him. But we're gonna see probably some new bit bads. I mean, we already had that one whispering guy, that one teleporting guy, which we don't know his name.
Thank you, Ashley Robinson. His name is Instant.
Instant, really? Okay, that's pretty dope.
Because within an instant, he's in your room.
That makes sense. And I believe it was because he did kidnap Dr. Jace this episode.
Yes, because she's got a bounty on her head.
Yeah, she does, and I believe she mentioned that was line of sight transmission, or line of sight teleportation.
Yes, so anything he can see, much like Nightcrawler,
exactly.
He can go to, and he sees dollar signs right now. Hence why he's taking Dr. Jace all the way back to Markovia, and her head's probably going to end up mounted on a wall while Instant's going to be making it rain in a bathtub, Scrooge McDuck style.
Instant. That's not bad. That's not a bad guy name. But do you want to say the big reveal of this episode though?
I'm gonna let you take care of that big reveal, but there's another one that I want to touch on myself.
Okay. Because it may be the same thing, but I won't.
Well, I know you want to say Khalil, but I want to say Reverend Holt. Like I thought he was dead. I thought he was dead.
I did too, and it was such a great moment to see him come back. I'm like, wait a minute, he's still alive? How?
And also, where does facial hair go?
Well, I can understand because he was basically poisoned by Cutter, if I'm not mistaken, right? Or was he? Yeah, I think in his.
Yeah, it was Cutter. It was Cutter.
By the way, Cutter left Tobias in this episode, not Big Whoop. But yeah, it was.
I actually want to discuss that in a little bit. But yeah, let's.
Okay, but it was nice to see Reverend Holt back. You're exactly right. To see him back in, still alive, and he basically opened up the church as a sanctuary for the people of Freeland if they weren't going to be rioting and stuff. And he gave a great sermon about how thanking God for down there Black Lightning, and nobody knows about lightning yet. So,
but yeah, so Reverend Holt, he comes out of nowhere. He's well again. He's still using the church for what he feels it's meant to be used for, as a sanctuary for everybody in Freeland, which I like. And he even gave a sermon over podcasting, which I didn't know that you could do that, but I thought was cool. And so, yeah, he's back in the fold, and I'm happy about that. The other reveal, I'm going to let you handle that one.
Yeah, it was pretty dope. Well, yeah, it was dope because it turns out that at least now we know why Agent Odell's kind of been such a hard ass this episode. I mean, throughout the season a little bit. He's been basically amassing his own army. Well, because now since all the green light kids are, well, I'm sorry, not all the pod kids have been released throughout Freeland. Agent Odell has kept 3 to himself. One is I believe his name was Issa from earlier this season. He was the dead kid, the kid that had died.
Issa, the truth teller.
Yeah, the truth. That's right. Oh yeah, that's a pretty powerful tool. He's a human lie detector again.
Well, not exactly. Yeah. Not exactly. He makes people tell the truth. Like he's not a lie detector. He's a truth maker.
That's true. That's very, very good point. Very good point. And then he also has Wendy on ice, which I believe her power is just
she's basically Aang from Avatar. She can bend the wind.
Yeah, and her name is Wendy, right? Wendy Hernandez.
Yeah, Wendy Hernandez.
I just thought about that. Like, really? Like, come on, guys, give her another power. But you know what? Now is not the time. But the major thing was he had Khalil back there, which was a bit shock because I thought Homeboy was dead from earlier this season. He was never coming back. But
like, he had his spine ripped out of him. How? It's like he died.
Yeah.
How is he not only alive and in a pod, but how is he standing in one of those pods? Like, what did they do?
But you know what? It would not surprise me if Agent Odell had somebody working for the hospital and basically had Khalil supposedly die. And even though they also supposedly buried him, I watch soap operas and they fake that shit all the time. So,
by the way, Agent Odell is like the dry wit Nick Fury. He's not very comedic with his tone, and he never smiles. But he's always there to show up randomly in your place of home, in your place of work, and just he just catches you by surprise and then gives you an assignment that you probably don't want, but you realize you should take anyway.
Exactly, yeah.
But so all in all, this was a great episode. I think we both can agree to that. But there is one thing I want to touch on, and that is the dynamic between Tobias and Cutter. Like, I can understand relationships going south and going sour and getting abusive, but it just feels like this happened way too quickly. Like there was no teasing of like he's starting to sour on her. Like I think the episode before this, when he was talking to Dr. Jace, he was like, "I like Cutter's bedside manner. I like how clingy she is." And then all of a sudden, he stopped giving a damn about her. Put all his attention to Black Lightning and became an utter douche to her. Like I understand Tobias is an ultimate villain. But at the same time, he wasn't a douche to Cutter. He never truly was, and for it to go this way, I feel like it was out of his character to make that switch that quickly. However, I will say that I am glad that Cutter, the first moment he turned violent on her, she was like, "Nope, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm not going to attack you, but I'm out. I can't do this." So the kudos to her for realizing her worth as a human being and getting out of there and realizing she shouldn't stick around. But yeah, Tobias, it was weird for me to see him make that snap so quickly, and now he's in a jail cell in the middle of nowhere, underneath the ground, with a bunch of Episode 1 The Phantom Menace style ray shields keeping him contained.
That's right. That's a good, very good callback right there. Because I knew that looked familiar, like all of them coming down like that. I'm like, I've seen this before. Episode 1, you're right.
But is there anything you want to touch on before we get to the Flash?
One last thing I like to touch on is people don't forget to watch on April the 4th, 2019, new CW series In the Dark, premiering at 8/7 Central or 9/8 Central. Okay, to the Flash. And I'm doing this for a reason, people, but continue. We'll go ahead.
I need a moment to breathe. Okay. Okay. So basically, we're running a little short on time, and I do want to talk a little bit about James Gunn before we go off the air. So I'll do my best to summarize what happened in the Flash. Ralph's back. Where he went, I don't know. Cicada is obviously Grace from the future, and she's pissed because her uncle gave her all this hate in her brain while she was in a coma, and now her uncle doesn't have that hate anymore. So that's conflicting. She's going after the person who accidentally killed her parents after causing a vending machine to go haywire and explode. So she's got all that rage in her heart. A lot of discussion about are secrets a good thing or a bad thing, especially in relation to meta powers. And we get sort of both perspectives as to why it's a good thing and why it's a bad thing. For Cisco, we get why it's a good thing because he's like, I can finally just be normal around somebody. But then Ralph brings up the subject of like, how long can you truly keep that up? And we see that with this family, specifically the woman who accidentally killed Grace's parents. She doesn't want her family to know that she has powers. And lo and behold, her secret catches up with her because once she's found out, she has to use her powers to defend herself, and her daughter gets caught in the crossfire. And so then they have to have that family discussion of like, okay, I have these powers. I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want you guys to worry. I didn't want anyone getting hurt because of these powers. And lo and behold, what I was trying to prevent actually did happen. So, okay, now we're here. And eventually that plays into Nora and Barry, where Sherlock Wells, he finally figures out the whole kit and caboodle. And he finds out that Eobard Thawne has been working with Nora West Allen. And eventually he reveals that too. I feel like I'm jumping from too many places.
No, I feel like there was really only two. Yeah, we had two major things because we had the journey with Cicada and with Cicada, Grace finding trying to hunt down her the people who killed their parents. But then this to me was what I was waiting all week for right here. So continue. This was the meat of the story to me.
Yes. So let's just get right to the entree of the whole story, which is that so they prevent Cicada from killing the woman who killed her parents, but instead Cicada, realizing that her uncle now no longer has any hatred, she's like, "You're of no use to me now." Stab, and he's dead. And so Orland, with his dying breath, he's like, "Save my grace. Save my grace." And so that's one sad part of the story with the big meat and bones of the whole thing. And the second big meat and bones of the whole thing is, Nora's secret is revealed. She was working with Eobard Thawne, and Barry is pissed. He sends his daughter literally into timeout by locking her in one of the cells in the pipeline of Star Labs. And like she's like, Dad,
and cries.
and like, well, that's what happens when you're a dumbass, Nora. We've gone over this every single week for the past couple of weeks. You broke the timeline. You caused a serial killer to have a copycat in the family, and now we're here. I'm gonna disappear probably a lot earlier than we thought I was. So yeah, you're in timeout. We're gonna read your diary next week.
Mm-hmm. You know, one thing that's very interesting to me is because I do kind of wonder if Nora is the cause of Grace coming back, or because we do also find out that Grace used one of the time spirit from from Star Labs, but just a future version of it. So I'm wondering, is it because Nora came back that she can't Grace decided to follow, or what? Because part of me feels like if the satellite was exploded, Cicada still would have been born anyway. Because even in their future, in her future, Cicada was still around killing. And my personal belief was that it was Cicada Grace killing in the future. But I mean, Nora has done a lot to affect the timeline. This timeline, you're 100% correct, because she's the reason why Crisis is happening this year. So I'm kind of thankful because now we got good out for Arrow, but she's done a lot to hurt the timeline. And
yeah, I kind of want Brainy to make an appearance on The Flash just so he can yell at Nora for messing up the timeline, because he's from the future and he realizes the consequences of messing with the timeline. And granted, she's surrounded by a whole bunch of other people who realize the consequences of screwing up the timeline, but I don't know, maybe just having someone from the future, from another dimension, will make her understand, don't mess with the timeline. But lo and behold, here we are. And yeah, next week we're going to go through her entire diary of her journeys, of all the notes she took about how the timeline is malleable, which I guess it might not be. Maybe Eobard cracked the code. Maybe this is what he wanted all along, for Nora to break the timeline so he could yet again cheat death. Because that's what Eobard Thawne is really good at, is cheating death. But yeah, so that's basically what happened in The Flash. I feel like out of everything that happened this week in terms of the Arrowverse shows, this one was kind of at the bottom of the list.
Well, I can understand. Personally, this was top for me. Top for me because I was just looking forward to Nora's secret coming out, even though they did take the entire episode to get to it, but it wasn't pretty much. They did have a good little entree with the whole Cicada Grace storyline with her trying to find her parents' killers. Then it would probably be Black Lightning to me, because Black Lightning was just a great season finale and all. And if I'm ranking then Supergirl, and then I wasn't too interested too much in the Blackstar Star City 2040, but it was all right. It was good, but in my eye, it would go Flash, Black Lightning, very close though, very close, and Flash, Black Lightning, Supergirl, the Arrow.
For me, it's Black Lightning, Supergirl, Arrow, Flash, because again, Jon Cryer's performance, I feel like he brought that episode up very high on the list for me this week. But do you have any other thoughts regarding the Flash? Because I've said my piece.
It's not really regarding the Flash, and this is why I wanted to bring up earlier what I mentioned earlier. And it's not In the Dark, which premieres on the CW on April 4th at 8 o'clock 7 Central, or either at 9 o'clock 8 Central. But this is kind of a more convoluted thing, because I've realized today that we have literally 3 characters that are on the show. Well, at least we're seeing 3 different. We have 2 characters from the future, and then we're seeing a different future that's being played out in Arrow. We're seeing the future 2040 being played out, and then we're also seeing future 2049 being played out in the Flash. And then hell, I think Brainy is far in the future, if I'm not mistaken.
Like, I think he's like in the 31st century or something.
Exactly, yeah. So he's far enough to kind of where I would believe anything can happen, but it's really between Arrow and Flash's future. Because if my theory is what I'm thinking is the reason why Oliver is not around to help Felicity raise little Mia is because he eventually dies in this year's crossover, in this year's crisis. However, if Oliver dies in the crisis of this year and Mia doesn't have a father, then technically that would mean Barry doesn't die in the crisis, which means Nora grows up with a father and she wouldn't technically be bad. So I'm wondering, are the future, but yet she's still going back and forth to 2049 as if her father is still dead in that future. So we have Mia in an Oliver Queenless future, at least so far as we believe, in 2040, and Nora going back to the future of Flashless 2049. So I'm just wondering whose future is correct, and this might not be something that we find out anytime soon. It's just something that came to me. And if somebody out there in the world knows, please hit me up. Zaddeus Smith on Facebook.com, ZA2Ds Smith, or hit me up on Instagram or Twitter. But it's just one of those things I thought about this more today. Like, which future are we working towards? Because I would think that if Oliver dies, if he sacrificed himself for Barry, that means Nora grows up with a father, and yet Mia doesn't. And so I would see that being the future that is most likely going to happen. But this could all be again thanks to Nora, because she's screwed the timeline 52, 53 times. So yeah.
Like the meme of "Damn it, Barry" has turned into "Damn it, Nora."
Nora, exactly.
Good Lord. Okay, so with that said, let's just run through the things bit by bit. I saw Captain Marvel and I enjoyed it. I do not have a Stardust app account, so you can't go on that to figure out what my thoughts on it were. But maybe Zadd and I will do like a long version breakdown of Captain Marvel in maybe a special edition episode on, let's say, the weekend, if possible. Like we'll discuss it off stream. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I saw it. So I basically, long story short, I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. And Zadd, you can find his thoughts about the movie on his Stardust app. So yeah, just giving some love to Captain Marvel there. Next. Today, the Disney-Fox merger has officially completed. So now Disney owns Family Guy, which is crazy.
That's right.
Yeah. So there's that. But more importantly, the MCU now has access to all of the Fox property characters, such as the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, and from what I understand, the only one that is not being rebooted is Deadpool, meaning that they're going to want to continue the story that they've been telling with him, and they have set things up with the previous Deadpool movies where they can sort of retroactively throw him in there, because they had a helicarrier that wasn't a helicarrier in the first Deadpool movie.
Yes, they did.
So they can bring him in, and Deadpool can make the jokes of like, "Hey, the mouse owns me now." So get ready for a lot of censored cuss words.
I mean, he already posted a picture on Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds already.
They're one and the same. They're one and the same.
He already posted a picture of Deadpool in the back of a school bus with Mickey Mouse ears. I think back to pool, or basically saying, "Yay, Deadpool's back is in the Disneyverse now." And you know what? If it ain't broke, do not fix it. I like Deadpool 2. I like Deadpool 1 better. But listen, Deadpool is a great success right now. So Disney, y'all have a gold mine with that series. Now, as far as
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was saying, as far as the X-Men, I want to see Dark Phoenix, but I just have a bad feeling about it. But I know this the last time we'll probably see Sansa Stark as Jean Grey and little Ty Sheridan as Ty Sheridan, as Cyclops. So I'm getting used to that part.
By the way, if they ever want to do Lady Deadpool, which they certainly can and probably certainly should explore, I feel like Ryan Reynolds' wife of Blake Lively, given what we saw with A Simple Favor and how good her comedic timing was, I feel like she'd be perfect for the role of Lady Deadpool.
That would be pretty interesting. She does have great comedic timing too.
Indeed, she does. But that's a story for another day. So before we get to the topic that we're going to close out, what are you most excited for with the Disney-Fox merger now complete? Are there any castings you want to see? Are there any movies that you want to see? I know I would like to see how Disney does Rogue, because Rogue is a very interesting character. And now that the Captain Marvel movie has come out, we know Rogue and Captain Marvel have a lot of ties together with their early origins. So that should be fun to introduce. Maybe have Liz Gillies, who is also a CW employee, have her portray the character of Rogue. And be the Southern Belle. I've always thought that she would be good for the character of Songbird, but Rogue I can also work with. But with that said, again, we want to hear your thoughts to the few people watching at home. What are you most excited about with the Disney-Fox merger? And now we get to our final topic of the evening, and then we will close things out because it is already past an hour. James Gunn. Disney realized that they screwed up. So they took the time to, I would assume, do an investigation into the whole situation. Basically, what happened that led to this whole situation was, I believe that his name is Mark Saranovich, who is a right-wing pundit online. He has a history of going through people's tweets, using them against them to try and get them to lose their jobs because they don't like Trump. He tried to do that with Sam Seder, who hosts the Majority Report with Sam Seder on YouTube and on the radio, but he also is an MSNBC pundit. And Sam Seder, he wasn't making jokes about a tragedy, but he was making jokes about the reaction to a tragedy several years ago. Saranovich found those tweets and tried to use them to get Sam Seder fired from his MSNBC position. It almost worked, but MSNBC was smart to keep him around. The plan did not work. Unfortunately, Disney did not do the same with James Gunn. They were quick to sort of get rid of him, and then I think from the look of it, it seems like they did some sort of internal investigation. They really, really looked at everything that was being shown to them to see if they made the right call, because they did not want to hire him back and then find out about additional skeletons in his closet, in James Gunn's closet, because you don't want to hire someone back and then have egg on your face from that. So they waited it out, they checked everything, and now James Gunn is back working Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Coincidentally, this happened on the same week that Dave Bautista did a promo against Triple H saying, "Give me what I want, give me what I want, give me what I want." And part of what he wanted was for James Gunn to be brought back to Guardians of the Galaxy 3. But yeah, now James Gunn is directing both The Suicide Squad and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. So could this be something that unites both fan bases?
It's possible, even though trolls will be trolls. There will be people out there that's saying no, I'm strict DC. No, I'm strict Marvel. I'm strict MCU. By the way, Silver Surfer coming to the MCU, I would love that personally. But yeah, with this Disney Fox merger, with James Gunn in DC, I believe he'll be there for the Suicide Squad. This reboot, first of all, I believe they said that's a reboot, not even a sequel anymore. So I think he'll be there for that movie, and then he'll come swiftly back to Marvel. He'll probably stay with Marvel at that, as long as they want him. But I was very disappointed in James Gunn in the beginning with those jokes. I thought they were disgusting. I didn't think they were funny, and I was in the mindset, hell, I'm okay with Disney firing him. However, since that time, there's been other acts. There's been other cases where people have needed to be forgiven for stuff that has been done years ago. And then I believe Disney even knew about James Gunn, had even mentioned this thing about the jokes on Twitter, to Disney prior to them firing him. So Disney, with that being the case, Disney way jumped the gun. So, but I've forgiven James Gunn.
No pun intended there. You said jump the gun.
Good point. There was no pun intended at all, though. But I believe they did the right thing by hiring him back. I mean, I think most of the public either forgave him a long time ago or they have forgiven him now. And it will. I do agree that Guardians of the Galaxy 3 would not have been the same without him. Hell, if they were even going to do one. So,
but now they definitely are doing one. So the cast of Guardians can say a cheer because like they know they still have job security with the MCU. They have someone they trust working on the script again, working on the behind the scenes stuff again. Like they really rallied around James Gunn because they like what he does. They like what he brings to the table, and you know I feel like we're guaranteed to get 2 interesting movies out of him. Especially considering the follow-up to Infinity War, Guardians will be part of that. So, like, what will Gamora be brought back? We don't know. But we have just a lot of questions. But I feel like my most speculation is that we're going to get 2 interesting movies out of this.
I agree. I 100% agree. The Suicide Squad, I'm actually looking forward to. That's Suicide Squad that's not animated, so interesting.
Yeah, and now I can't help but wonder, like, now that James Gunn has been brought back to Guardians, is Will Smith kicking himself for removing himself from the project?
Yeah, he'll be all right.
We shall see. Hopefully Bad Boys 3 makes him a lot of money so he doesn't have any regrets in the coming years.
I know Josh McCougar will like it, so that's all Will Smith needs.
Yep. But with that said, thank you guys for watching. Those of you who did watch live and those of you who will watch this on playback. But yeah, like, share, subscribe to Multiplex Entertainment, and support us so we can keep growing however we can. Zadd, where can the good people of the internet find you? Because I'm stumbling right now.
Good people on the internet, you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at Facebook or Twitter and Instagram at Zaddeus Smith. That's ZA 2 D's US Smith. On Instagram at Zaddeus, but just that's it by itself. Or on Twitter at DZad, or also at D_Zad, excuse me. Find me on Facebook, also doing trivia on Multiplex, other trivia outlets. And find me also on the Stardust app doing movie and TV reviews at RetributionZ. And please don't forget that In the Dark premieres April 4th, 2019 on the CW at 8/7 Central or 9/8 Central. Over to you, Nico. Now, CW, please stop showing me that damn commercial. Please.
You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube at Nico Suave Regoli. That's NicoSuaveRegoli. You can find me on dedicated to art, where we do Schmodown reactions and the Who Cares Anyway podcast every Friday evening. At D2A channel is the Twitter handle and the Instagram handle. Combat Wrestling Trivia is the name of the Facebook group. Combat Wrestling Network is the name of the YouTube channel. The poorly made Twitter account is at Combat Wrestling, the number 2. There's no letter G in there because Twitter is weird. But yeah, if you like wrestling trivia, if you like pro wrestling as a whole, come join us over there. We'll get you a match in either the heavyweight or middleweight divisions, and we'll just have a good time talking about wrestling. And finally, right here, Multiplex Entertainment. That's the name of the Facebook group and the YouTube channel. The Twitter is at MultiplexYT. The Instagram is Multiplex Entertainment Network. The TeePublic is just Multiplex. Buy our awesome shirts. And always check out Crisis on Earthplex every Wednesday evening, somewhere between 9 and 11 p.m. Eastern Time is when we start. Oh, yeah, and go watch Into Dark on the CW, airing on what day?
April 4th, 2019.
At either 8 p.m. 7 Central or 9 p.m. 8 Central.
Mm-hmm. I have my DVR ready. Oh, also, timeout. Screw In the Dark. April 4th, go watch Cloak and Dagger because I cannot wait till that season 2 comes out. Screw In the Dark for now. Man, I can't wait. But that's a story for another time. Man.
Yeah, forget Into Dark. Watch a show about kids with powers of light and darkness.
Aha! Still in the darkness. Boom, pss. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, but yeah. This has been Crisis on Earth Plex. I am Nico Suave Regoli. That's my brother Zaddeus Smith. And as always, if you're ever in a crisis, come find us.